following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome back to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today we have a couple of guests here from the Nackey Loeb School of Communications. I want to introduce David Terril-Wysocki. Did I get it right?
Close. Terril-Wysocki.
Terril-Wysocki. Dave, I'm sorry. You could see me practicing. And of course, Judy Window. That was an easy one.
That's an easy one.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The reason we wanted to have you on the show, I recently took my first course at the school, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and completely overwhelmed a little bit because actually Judy was teaching the class, and I didn't say this off camera, but on camera I'll say I held you in great admiration because all the websites that you're on, all the social medias that you were teaching, it was a social media class, you're doing a really good job with that.
Thank you.
There were 5 or 6 that I never heard of, and you seem to pull it all together.
Great, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the school, Dave.
Sure. Well, Judy is an instructor at the school and also a student. She's been in many classes, and since you started with her class, or her workshop, we offer workshops in all sorts of communications topics, including social media, and we'll get back to that, and Judy can talk about that more than I can. But the school is a nonprofit, nonpartisan school founded in 1999 by Mrs. Loeb, Nackey Loeb, when she was president and publisher of the Union Leader. Her goal, there were 2 main reasons to found the school. One was to open the doors for free classes for anyone in the state who wanted to come and learn about communications. Her thought was to make it available to as many people as possible. And that was one main goal, just to give people instruction in communication and the First Amendment. And the other goal was to help preserve the Union Leader, which she was president and publisher of, as an independent newspaper. Frankly, they were afraid that when she died, and she was ailing, and that when she died, because of tax situation and other things, they might have had to sell the Union Leader to a larger newspaper chain, which would have dramatically changed the way news coverage is seen in New Hampshire. So 2 goals: open the doors to free access to people and preserve the paper. And how that was done is she created a nonprofit foundation, which is the school, and on her death, her controlling interest in the Union Leader was donated to the school. So the Nackey Loeb School of Communications actually owns the Union Leader. It's our school newspaper.
Interesting. And now you have a history with the Associated Press.
Yes. I was a reporter with Associated Press in New Hampshire for 33 years, left in 2009. For many years, while I was still at the AP, I was teaching at the school and then became the director of the school in 2007. So for 2.5 years while I was at the AP, I was also teaching at the school. And it points out one very important aspect about the school and the people who founded it. From the beginning, it was not designed as a school for the Union Leader. Obviously, there's a main connection there because of Mrs. Loeb. But in the beginning, and from the very beginning, the school hired instructors from various media outlets all over the state, competitors to the Union Leader. When its doors opened in 2000, there were 3 main classes. First Amendment, which is still there, taught by Greg Sullivan, First Amendment attorney. Photography, which has been taught by various people over the years. and news writing, which was taught by me. So they hired a competitor, me, as one of the first instructors. And throughout the 13 years that the school has been open, we have hired and used instructors in workshops and classes from all over the state. The Concord Monitor, the Nashua Telegraph, Public Radio, Channel 9, Boston Globe, AP, Laconia Citizen, and the Union Leader, as well as from businesses like Judy teaching social media. And there's a Nashua connection. Don Himsel, who is a photographer and multimedia producer at the Telegraph, teaches our multimedia course, gets rave reviews every time he teaches the class. Bob Hammerstrom, who is a former Telegraph photographer, has taught at the school. Stacy Milbauer, columnist for the Telegraph, teaches a blogging course and a how to write news releases workshop.
Oh, and these are free or semi-free?
Well, we have about 15 classes a year in 6-week sections. There's a 6-week segment in the winter, January and February, one night a week, hour and a half per class. So it's 6 90-minute classes per session. And those 3 sessions are free. And we have a winter session with 5 classes, spring and fall. And those are 6-week classes on everything like news writing and social media, First Amendment, broadcasting, multimedia that I mentioned with Don, sports writing, cartooning, photojournalism, feature writing, all of those. They're free. We have added one-day or half-day specialty kind of workshops, writing news releases, writing newsletters, social media for business. Judy does a social media for the fun of it, filled with grandparents.
Were you having a good time the other day? Oh, for grandparents.
Yeah, this one was for grandparents, for older people who are just kind of dipping their toe into Facebook, really.
I have a friend. He's 81 years old. He does a little show here called the Nashua Geographic, and he documents all the living animals in our development Hall's Crossing. Mm-hmm. He can document every kind of bird. Everything. You'd have to look at it. It's great. But 81 years old, and he's right there on the computer, and he's not intimidated by it. So you must be able to help seniors the same way.
That's what I try to do. I try to get them to get on, touch it, feel it, start playing around with it, and then they become proficient. There's a lot of people that went from that class. Actually, one of the women who was in the class that you were in went from that first class to now advanced social media class. So that's how far she's come in the last couple of years.
And it doesn't matter if you have a Mac or if you have a PC, you can help them through. Now, you also have a long history with the school as well.
Fairly long history, yes, yes. I'm the president and CEO of the Granite State Ambassadors, and we staff welcome centers around the state. And we started in 1996 during a New Hampshire primary. And being the first in the nation primary, it was really important that the people who were standing at our welcome centers and our information centers, primarily the airport at that time, understood the importance of the New Hampshire primary and how to relate to media people, and especially national media, and to keep on their talking points. So we talked to the Nackey Loeb School and brought them in, and they sat down and taught us everything we know.
So you're teaching people how to talk to the media? Is that what that does?
Well, because what happens is the media will fly in for a primary. So
right.
When there isn't a candidate there, what they do is they go out and they get the B footage and they get what people are doing, what do we think as residents, and because not all of the people, but most of the people at that time that staffed the welcome centers, and primarily, again, the airport at that time was brand new, had just opened. Right. They came up to us and they would say, "So, what do you think of the New Hampshire primary?" And my volunteers would go,
right?
So we taught them how to answer questions on camera, to be able to stick to their talking points and not, get all nervous about it. And it worked out really well. Okay. That's how I met the Nackey Loeb School and was introduced to the Nackey Loeb School. And Dave was one of the people on the panel. I think at the second time around that we did it.
And you're still teaching that then now?
Yeah.
Is there there must be a need for that then?
Oh, obviously. Yeah, we staff, besides the welcome centers that we staff normally, We open up a special welcome center at the Radisson in downtown Manchester to help the candidates, the people who come in behind them. But particularly interesting is that the people who come to visit New Hampshire during the primary just to see how we do it. Because we're very hands-on. There's no other state that does that.
I'm thinking,
I know, that's tourism in New Hampshire. I mean, people will take their vacation and come watch us
do our thing.
do our thing.
Wow. Well, that's very interesting. And so, of course, you incorporated that into the school now.
Well, we do courses and we go on the road for workshops like that, which was a kind of a media relations workshop. And there was a PR person, a reporter, and you had others
I think
on the
Channel
panel.
9.
Yeah, to talk.
Secretary of State came.
Yeah.
And
that was something Judy organized. We also organize panels and go on the road. I've been to different places doing workshops on media relations, how to develop relationships with reporters and media outlets, the changing media landscape, and how can a nonprofit or a small business take advantage of that. And you saw, Kevin, from when you were in the class, all of the students in your class, students, were adults.
Right.
The very next morning, you would have seen a much different picture. It was a class called Cartooning for Kids. And I think they ranged from about 8 to 15.
that's great.
And the evaluation forms were filled out in magic marker. It was great. But most of our students actually are adults. And one thing I'm really proud of, in the past couple of years, we have been a partner with the Center for Nonprofits and with a couple of other nonprofits in New Hampshire. And they've come to our building. We rent the auditorium and classrooms for some trainings. And oftentimes the Center for Nonprofits will come to put on their own training, and I get to welcome folks and hand out a schedule. And next thing you know, people from the nonprofits are coming to our workshop to learn how to write news releases, how to write newsletters, how to take photos to enhance your website. And there's a huge bang for the buck there, because someone from a nonprofit who comes to our class learns how to write a better news release, goes back, writes a better news release to spread the word about their program to their community. So by extension, it's really helping communities and helping services. So we're really proud of that, and it's fun.
I'm a slow learner. And if I took your course on how to write a news release and I didn't get it the first time, is there a limit to how many times I'm bad.
You can keep coming
Kevin,
back.
32 times is a little bit too much.
I have people in the class that you were in that
Right.
have been at least to 3 of my classes. This social media
Just
for
a
business.
lot there.
Yeah. So they come and they focus on, and they come to renew because social media changes so quickly.
Right.
Especially social media. So they'll come to get the new stuff.
What we're hoping to teach is the hands-on material, so that you can learn something today that you can use tomorrow. And I mentioned Don Himsel.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy, very good photographer, excellent multimedia producer. He comes running into a class and says, we're going to have to hold off for a minute on class because I just covered something on the way here and I have to transmit the photos to the paper so they can go on the website. Well, then the class gathers around the laptop, and that is the class.
That's cool.
He's showing how he's done that. 1 year, Tom Fahey was the Union Leader State House bureau chief, called to say, I think I might be late for class this afternoon. He was teaching a covering politics class, started at 5 or 5:30. Right at the deadline, the candidates had to file their intent for recount. If the election day was the day earlier.
I've actually had to go through one of those.
Well,
I won by
So
10.
you know.
well, that's good. Well, I just said to Tom, send me the information you're working on, whatever releases are coming in, and who's filed for a recount. I got the information. I acted as the editor. His class came in on time. I handed out the info and said, you're working on the same story Tom is. And here's the story. X person has asked for a recount. This person surprisingly did not. Here are the figures that are involved. Here are the quotes. Here's what happened yesterday. How about if you write a story? And when Tom gets here, they compared stories. Why did you concentrate on that? How come you concentrated on that? Why did you pick this for your lead? You can't do any better than that. They were
Right.
writing the top story of the day in their class, waiting for the guy who was writing the top story of the day for the statewide newspaper to come in and talk about his thought process.
That's got to be a little intimidating for the students.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
It may be intimidating, but it kind of is fun too. And it's lighthearted. One of the first things you have to learn as a writer, that the criticism is of the writing, not the writer. And when you get over that and you realize somebody's trying to help with the words, that was kind of hard for me in college, especially when my professor would pick up a story like this because he didn't want to get his fingers dirty and start reading the story, and he wouldn't say whose it was, but you could tell whose it was because it was the
my
person.
big signature.
Right, well, it was the person who was shrinking under the desk.
You know, I can totally relate to that. I was actually working on something myself, and a friend of mine said, "You misspelled a lot of words," and I went, "Really?" It's like, how do you not take it personally? But the bottom line is, I really did misspell some words, or I didn't capitalize something, and you wanted a professional document.
Yep.
And I'm not a secretary, but I went to it and I'm fixing it. You know, I'm thinking, what do you care what I'm doing? But the bottom line is, you wanted a professional look, and that's something that I can take home from this conversation.
I took both the feature writing and the editorial writing actually back to back last year. And I found that I don't think I would do that again, only because they're so different.
Yes.
Like I figured writing and writing, but I just never knew the nuances between what a feature writer goes through and what an editorial board goes through. And I thought just not even me learning how to write it, but just the process I thought was fascinating and helped me in business understand the difference.
Sure. Steve Billingham, who worked at the Lawrence Eagle Trib the years that they won their Pulitzer Prizes, teaches feature writing. And Marty Carlin, who used to be the editorial writer for the Telegraph, teaches editorial writing. And others also ask about the political, what are the politics? I said, Marty and all of the other instructors do not teach what to write. They teach how to write it, how to communicate your message so you're not wasting your time or not wasting a reader's time, especially in the editorial class. His goal is formulate an opinion, back it up, and persuade me.
Interesting. Are there books that you would read before you take the class, or is it after you take the class?
Well,
or a little bit of both?
There is a textbook that I used in the news writing class. Meg uses her own material. A lot of it is online now for news writing. Some of the other classes might have references, but there's nothing required. I mean, you don't have to buy a book to come to the class there. And typically, if there are readings, they're either online and students get the link and can read during the week, or it's something that might be handed out in class.
And even if you don't do your homework, they don't get mad. Because one time I didn't get my homework done and I felt really bad, but they don't get mad at you. And by the way, I don't give homework in my class.
There you go.
So take her classes first. So tell me a little bit about this fellowship thing, though.
Oh yeah.
The Nackey Loeb Fellowship, it's a program we developed to recognize students who come back over and over and over again. And it's students who take First Amendment class, which is kind of one of the cornerstones of the school. It's a 6-week class with Attorney Sullivan, and 4 other classes, and then write an essay about the importance of the First Amendment to them, receive a certificate and recognition at our annual First Amendment event. We have an event each fall to raise money for the school, but also to recognize the First Amendment. So students who earn the fellowship in that year get an award on stage, and we read a little from their essay. And that's part of this overall program that happens each fall. And 2 main reasons for that program. One is the First Amendment Awards to raise money for the school, and it's the only fundraiser we have in the year. And the other is to recognize a New Hampshire person or organization that goes above and beyond in exemplifying, standing up for, exercising, or looking out for the First Amendment. And those people are picked by nominations come from the public. In fact, the nomination period is open for this year now, and it's easy to nominate someone. Everything is on the school website, which is loebschool.org, L-O-E-B school.org. And over the years, that awards event has recognized everyone from former attorney generals of the state, Phil McLaughlin, editors Tom Carney, who was at the Keene Sentinel. The Portsmouth Herald won the award a couple of years ago. One year, the award went to a school board member who opposed the budget that the school board had endorsed and spoke about it in one of the towns she represented, and the board voted officially to censure her, officially to tell her to sit down and shut up. And she won the First Amendment Award. Last year it went to David Lang and the Professional Firefighters Association. For 9 years he was trying to get some documents released by the local government center. When the documents were released and looked into, they were ordered to refund $50 million to communities around the state. So he won the award last year. So we're looking for nominations now for this year. We also bring in a national speaker to attract people to the event, obviously. And they've ranged from Tim Russert to Bill O'Reilly.
I saw his picture on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Russert.
Russert, O'Reilly, Joe Biden, Pat Buchanan, and we have a national speaker coming in this year. We haven't announced who it is yet. And if I told you, I'd have to shoot you. So that person will be the speaker at our event on November 12th.
I can be bought. I know who it is. I can be bought. Just send your donations to it.
November 12th, but we'll
The Nackey
be
Loeb
putting
School.
out the word about that. See, that's part of the public relations class. It's called getting as many bites of the apple as
These
you
are
can.
teasers. These are nice teasers.
Yes, we announce the nominations, we will announce the speaker, we'll announce the tickets are going on sale, we'll announce the winner. See, in the public relations course, you want to get as many bites of the apple as possible.
So as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing January, May,
Yep.
July. So we're obviously into the July period. The First Amendment, does that start at a particular time, or do you have to sign up for these, the three cornerstones, if you will, at a particular time?
Well, the First Amendment law is typically offered in the winter session, which is the 6-week classes that run in January and February. The next year's schedule is not up on the website yet. Don't rush me.
Right.
Having a hard enough time getting through
Well, I'm already sold,
2013.
actually. This sounds,
And I'm
really-
bummed because my class runs back to back with the First Amendment, and that's why I haven't gotten my fellowship.
Well, we'll change it for you next year.
I think
Social
yeah.
media and First Amendment will not be offered at the same time in January.
Okay.
There
So
we go.
I'm looking here at the August 7th, the Constitution for Teachers.
Yes.
Yay.
I know, interesting. huh?
Right.
I want to take that one too.
Half-day workshop. This year, it's Attorney Catherin Sullivan, who also is an attorney in Greg Sullivan's firm, happens to be his daughter, who's teaching First Amendment for teachers, Constitution for teachers, general guidelines about the Constitution, some talking points, and typically Greg does not provide a lot of answers. He provides a lot of questions to stimulate discussion in the room. The First Amendment class is the rowdiest class we have, except for social media for the fun of it, because it's great discussion. But then, there is some guidance about some guidelines on it. But it also is a way for some teachers to learn about the upcoming Constitution Day contest. Every fall, 9 New Hampshire daily papers and the Supreme Court and the Loeb School administer a Constitution Day essay contest. We develop a question, it goes to all of the schools and homeschoolers in the state, and part of this workshop is talking about that. And the issue this year is going to be a question about balancing rights against security, especially after the Boston Marathon and other things. What rights are you willing to give up in order for security? And an extension is, what rights are you willing to have others give up so you can feel secure?
And of course, Benjamin Franklin's going to come into play here.
His quote is in the documents that went to the teachers already.
I'm not going to go
And I'm trying to remember it. I don't want to paraphrase it and misquote Ben Franklin. We'll all
That's
be in
bad.
trouble.
That's bad.
No. That's fantastic. So again, how do people get to your website?
It's loebschool.org, Loeb school.org. listing of classes, nominations. There's some photos there of work that students have done, and just background about the school. Registration for upcoming workshops the rest of this year after Constitution for Teachers. Our fall classes are coming up, and these are free. Again, photojournalism, feature writing, columns and blogging, and editorial writing. And they're all free classes in September. There's a workshop on public speaking coming up in September. We're also doing a student media workshop, a full-day workshop for student journalists. And this year, rather than having it at the school, we are going to Oyster River High School in Durham and hosting it there for mainly for, I guess, students in that area, but it's open to anyone, and that's also on the website. That's in September. Nature photography, ran it for the first time last spring, had a great turnout, and everyone said, can you do it again? We said, sure, let's do it in the fall, and they took a field trip to the Audubon Society in the spring and took all the arriving birds. In the fall, we'll go there again, and they'll get some nice foliage shots.
That's why you'll like, by the way, National Geographic, Mr. John Prestige.
Okay.
You've got to check it out because
that will
he
be.
gets some really good pictures
That's
of some
nice.
birds.
That's nice.
So, now, you're a small business owner?
No, I run a nonprofit charitable organization.
Right, okay, so, all right.
I
thought-
used to own my own company when I first started doing this, and I don't do that anymore.
Too much work, yeah.
I'd rather just do it through him.
And you're not just a pretty face, you play saxophone. Right?
Andy's a pretty face.
Well, yeah.
I said he's not just a pretty
I play the saxophone in the Freeze Brothers Big Band, nonprofit band, and I've been in the band for 31 years. 32 years, yep.
Well, we'd like to have you folks come back on the show and talk specifically about the Freeze Brothers Band. And
Well,
of course,
we'll have to bring
your organization
instruments.
as well.
We're not just going to talk. I'm going to have
Gonna
a
play.
trumpet and a sax and a trombone sitting here and going to town.
That's going to be a good show to watch.
Come on, baby, don't you blow your top.
Well, Kevin, for those of you in Nashua who may not know, Kevin also is a singer and performs around the state, but also performed with us, with the Freeze Brothers Band, a lifetime ago,
Pretty much, yeah.
late 80s.
Yeah, yeah. And
You guys are so old.
I know.
I know. Hey, well, but you know what? Music keeps you young, at least in my opinion. So, are there any final thoughts you want to leave with our guests?
Well, just that, first of all, thank you very much for having us here. I'd love to talk about the school, and I mentioned one exciting aspect, which is that we're helping nonprofits spread the word, but what's really exciting to me is that people who come there don't have to be there. There is no real credit for the learning. They come because they want to. They come early, they stay late, and they're learning how to do things from people who do it all day at work.
Right.
And and they keep coming back.
Right, and if you have questions on how to get onto social media or anything, it's neat to know that you can go someplace and it's, relatively free,
Yeah,
other than your time,
And the connections of the people that you make are incredible. The people that I've met just through the school, you just can't meet those type of people anywhere because it's just such a diverse group of people.
Right. You're basically meeting
Everybody.
your social networking,
Sure.
social
In
networking
life.
In life, yeah.
Well, Jim Breen, who is the director of operations at Channel 9, was teaching a class, and he came into my office after. He said, "You should have been there. This is the Loeb School." I was there, but he said, "You should have been at the table." He said, "We had a Central High cheerleader in uniform, a reporter at a radio station, a stay-at-home mom, and an immigrant from Africa sitting at the same table taking his broadcasting class." He said, "That's the Loeb School."
Yep.
It's
That's
open
exactly
to everyone.
what it is. It's everyone.
Yeah, actually, I liked the little part where you were showing how you could have your own little radio show.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And I
On
thought,
Spreaker, yeah.
ooh, that would be fun.
It is fun. We've done it. My family's done it, so we had a great time doing it.
Oh yeah, I could hear
lot
the
of fun.
laughter now. So, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for
pleasure.
having us.
Great. Hopefully we'll have you both again.
Excellent.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Gate City Chronicles. We hope this information has been very helpful. I attended the class. I intend on planning going to some more of these classes and maybe even looking at a fellowship. I think
go.
it's a great idea, and hopefully, again, you take advantage of it as well. Until next week, thanks for watching Gate City Chronicles.
preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.